top-of-the-line models are great. And that's because car manufacturers put in a lot of features, everything they have, to make it feel fantastic. But honestly, my benchmark is always the mid-grade model. And that's because the playbook dictates it has to be a tough balancing act. They have to put in enough features to make it feel loaded, but they can't take out enough that it feels taxi spec. Well, with the Emgrand, Geely is rewriting that playbook. This is the Emgrand Comfort. It's the cheapest version of the Emgrand you can get right now. The one we drove before, the teal one, that is the premium. It's at 908,000 pesos. This one is 798. There's supposed to be a lower grade model, which is the S, but that one hasn't been launched yet. So we're looking forward to driving that later on. That version called the S. S for simple, standard. At any rate, despite being a lower grade, a cheaper grade model, it does not look any cheaper to me. Actually, it looks the same apart from the color, the trim, the grille, even the headlights are the same. These are projector LEDs. Only the S version, that one has the reflector type halogens. But if you look closer, you may think, ay, lower grade model yan because no fog lamps. Well, not even the premium has fog lamps. One of the normal things to do in the playbook of car manufacturers is to step down the size of the wheels as you move down the model range, but not in the case of the Emgrand. These are still 17s, the same as the premium. Even the brakes have not been downgraded. Discs in front and discs in the back. But really the only changes here we can spot, for one, the trim piece right here on the door, on the windows, is no longer chrome on the bottom. These are black, but not really a big deal. What is kind of a slightly big deal is the one up here. This one loses the sunroof. So it's just sheet metal up here on the roof, no sliding glass down there to give you more air and more sunshine on a long drive. But again, that's more of a choice. What is a smaller change is right here in the back. See, if you look at the trunk, it loses that light bar there in the middle. Now, it's not really a big deal again, but you do lose the nice gauge ceremony we noticed before, or where the lights kind of dance. But again, that's more for aesthetics. What is a big deal is that this still retains the 500-liter trunk space with the remote trunk release. And with that, the trunk opens about 90% of the way, and it gives you access to that big trunk. Now, if I recall, only the City is bigger in the direct competitors of the Emgrand. But this one has a very key advantage, and right here, it still has that folding rear seat, 60/40 style. So no other car in its class, I think, offers that kind of feature. I'll double check that. But it allows you to put longer items in your Emgrand, and it's good if you're carrying all kinds of stuff from IKEA or wherever. And the trunk, yeah, manual close, but all well and good. If you've seen my previous videos of the Emgrand, then the biggest change is actually right here. It doesn't have the blue and white leather interior anymore. So if you're from Ateneo or from Adamson, well, sorry, nawala yung terno. If you're from DLSU like me, then it's okay. If you're from UP, well, you like the body color of this one. But again, we go to the question, does it feel cheaper? The short answer is no. The long answer is also no. Because leather, while it is nice, it does get warm. And also the white leather, it stains a bit more easily compared to other colors of leather. And honestly, the material they chose for this is really nice. It looks like denim. So it looks really good in my opinion. It looks very classy for an affordable car. Looking around the dashboard, what has changed? Well, gone is the blue on top of the dash. It's now plastic. But that's all right. It does look good in my opinion. The steering wheel, it's still leather, it's still flat bottom, the D-cut style, which is good. You do lose a few things like the power mirror fold and the driver seat electrical adjust, but those are minor details, not a big deal. What's important here is that Geely retained a lot of good features for this vehicle. For example, all the windows are one touch up and down, which is good. The mirrors are electrically adjustable. You have audio controls on the right of the steering wheel, cruise control on the left, unexpected, trunk release, and headlamp leveler. So it's still a fully loaded vehicle, all things considered. Another change is with the instrument cluster. In the Emgrand Premium, it's a full digital display with the turbine style design for the speedometer and tachometer. I wasn't really a big fan of that. So personally, I like this style. Analog tachometer, analog speedometer with a multi-info display in the middle. I mean, I jump from one car to another almost every single week. So it's nice to have a bit of familiarity when you jump from one to the other and not have to get used to it. And this layout, it's very logical, it's very clear. It also has the TPMS system, so you can monitor the tire pressures on all four corners of your vehicle. Looking down here, what do we see? Well, there's a cup holder here, and there's a little pocket here for which you can put your keys in. There's a bigger compartment here. There's also AC vents in the back, as well as a charging port, which is good because normally in a mid-grade model, they'd remove some of those nice features. In this one, they did not. But again, T-shifter feels good. You have the electronic parking brake, again, unexpected, with auto brake hold. I mean, normally you have, in the mid-grade models, you have the lever handbrake, not in this one. But what I really like is what Geely did here. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's really functional. For example, this tray right here fits my wallet, all my other pocket stuff, no problem. There's even a little hook here, which I can use for my bag or if I'm getting takeout. But the really intuitive thing here is the ledge for your phone right above there. It's right on top of the USB port and the 12-volt outlet, so you can charge and mirror on the go. Another small difference is the fact that this one has 4 speakers instead of 6 like in the Premium, but again, not a big deal. But what is a big deal is that this one does not have Apple Carplay or Android Auto. I mean, you guys at Geely, and I mean you guys over at Product Planning in China, please give your cars Apple CarPlay and Android Auto because it's really important in our market. And how do I know that? When friends ask me, hey Vince, does it have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto? And I say no, well guess what? They go and buy something else. The other standard practice in the auto industry is to step down the engine from, let's say, a 1.6 or 1.5 to a 1.3 or a 1.2. But that's not the case for the Emgrand Comfort because this is still the same engine as the Emgrand Premium. It's a 1.5 liter and it's bolted onto a CVT, not a 5-speed manual. If you want a manual, then you wait for the S version of this. Now, we can't really expect the same power like the Geely Coolray or the Ascara or Okavango, even though it's the same displacement. And that's because this is a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, not a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbo like those other models. If you look there, it's nothing, there's no turbo down there, so there's no boost in this model. It makes 102 horsepower and 142 Newton meters of torque. Now, it may seem like a letdown, but really in a car like this, what's more important is smoothness, comfort, and fuel efficiency. But one thing I really want to note here is how neat the engine bay is, because Geely really thought of covering up and making it as clean as possible. Even the battery is actually covered. The air filters look great. The fuse box over there, there's a cover here, there's a cover here. It just looks so clean. I mean, when you come out of a car wash, you wipe it down, it just feels and looks great. I mean, car guys, we pay to have someone do a wire tuck, but Geely already seems to have done it for us. Now I won't bore you with any more footage of me driving the Emgrand because I've driven this in the city, on the expressway, and even up to the Tagaytay and down that road to the Batangas side. Some really nice winding roads. And from what I can tell you is that this one drives identical to the Emgrand Premium. Steering, suspension, braking, everything feels almost exactly the same. What is notable here is that, for one, I forgot to lower the tire pressure to the correct pressure when I first drove the car. So I was still at around 40 PSI. But even on EDSA, I didn't even notice until I got to the S-Lex. And that speaks volumes about the suspension of this, the comfort aspect of it. The other one is when it comes to the fuel economy. On the highway, I was doing around 19.5, which is normal. In the city, I was doing 10.2, but I did have this in lighter traffic, which is, a good thing. The third one is the steering, because in the Premium, I was getting just a little bit of noise from the steering, nothing really bothersome. This one, no noise. It was perfect. If you notice, I said the phrase "not a big deal" quite a few times throughout the review. And that's because many of the things they took out, really not a big deal. Those are just toppings or garnishings like you would have on a dish. So long as the fundamentals of the recipe or the car are right, then what you get is something really good in the end. The consensus with the Emgrand, both the Premium and the Comfort, is that Geely didn't try to make a cheap car just to grab market share. What they did was they engineered and designed and built and spec'd a good car, and they can just offer it at a great price. That is true of the Premium at 908,000, and it's also true of the Emgrand Comfort at 798,000 pesos. What's really tripping up Geely here is their service, which I think they're already working on, particularly with the ordering of parts. If you're not also a fan of Chinese cars, or if you're against Chinese cars, then there's nothing I can do for you, because this really is a good car, and they have the advantage of the economies of scale over in China to give it a price advantage in the Philippines. I mean, many of the rivals in the same ballpark price range are still with manual transmissions. This one is already an almost fully loaded subcompact sedan that you can have for much less than those. But hey, this is just one guy's opinion and assessment of a car. What I suggest you do is go to your nearest Geely dealership and sign up for a test drive, because honestly, I think you will be very, very surprised.